Hello everyone, welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka. In studio with me I have Professor Sarath Kotagama, and we have been speaking about biodiversity and related issues, and in relation you have been doing a very interesting project in the Jaffna districts recently. Could you tell us a little bit about your visit there?
See, we have had a very bad time, we all do recognize that, and we also recognize that it came to an end in 2009, and we need to look at means of reconciliation. And as a naturalist, I know that nature can be much more healing than what we think about, and it is the place of healing. So the Field Ornithology Group of Sri Lanka therefore conceived this idea of using birds. That is our vehicle, which is we are concerned with birds. Ornithology is the study of birds, so we are concerned with birds, and we know bird watching can also become a very important aspect where we forget differences and reconcile to become one and work together. And there's a lot of culture behind it, and there's a lot of activities that we can do. So we started a program in Mana with the assistance of the UNDP, and we really were able to convert those students. This was very early, soon after the war in 2009, end of 2009. And at once there was a real positive difference in the attitudes of the children in that area. And this resulted in us thinking about taking it to Jaffna. And so in 2010 and 11 we went off to Jaffna. The theme of it is reconciliation to the power of nature. And we were very fortunate that Dilma Conservation came into the picture and helped us with the cost and all of these things. But the idea is really that we try to take the children away from the classroom, away from the confines of a school, take them to nature, and in that location try to have a dialogue with them, while of course showing some birds and explaining to them what nature is all about, and making them all the time looking out towards nature as a means for reconciliation with our southern students or children, and more importantly to initially establish the fact that nature is part where you really can have satisfaction, away from stress, all of these things. So we had a program where we said, okay, initially we had to take the children out of the class because they were in a state, we realized it, we could see it when we went to Jaffna, that those children were somewhat restricted in the attitudes, the way they came out to talk about, and always feeling constrained, looking at us in a different way and things like that. So we had to first sort that out. So we realized that that cannot be done in the classroom. We had to take them out into the open, because I believe very much that nature has an healing power, and as I said, brings about this reconciliation. We did get results, and every school, we started with 15 schools, and in the 15 schools we had nature appreciation clubs established. And in the meantime, we were also assisted by an organization in Jaffna, a student who was in Jaffna, and subsequently who has also been doing social psychology and things like that. We call it the Center for Children's Happiness, one Mr. Mayuran, and together with him we sort of manipulated a program, I would say. I wouldn't say we tried to go and just do anything, because conditions there was not like what we have in here. We had to go and work with the government. So we had to approach the state machinery first, the education department, the provincial councils, and through them get to the school system, and there get the confidence of the principals in, and then the teachers in. So we first did it with the teachers. So we had a teacher program, followed with the children, and of course the end today we can say very clearly that we have had good results. And we also brought in the students from there, not just to any place in the country, but to Singharaja. You see, of all places, if you can go and stay at Singharaja, away from all habitations of human contact and all that, in a real jungle, see, you can really change the minds. And we brought students from Jaffna. We brought 4 schools actually at the beginning. We have to do the rest of it for the future. But when they came and when they were at Singharaja, the only complaint they had is eating rice 3 times a day. Because of course we couldn't provide them with their food, but that was the experience that they had, so they went back, and even to date they are active in their schools and in the community. So through that we have also revived the interests of the wetland areas in Jaffna. because Jaffna is very unique in the sense of migratory birds. It is the place where the birds come and settle down first, and it is also the place where the birds leave last from Sri Lanka. So it's very unique in that way. And a lot of the wetlands that are in Jaffna, the low-lying areas which are not in agriculture, like if you go towards Kites, the Mandatiu area, the Karatiu and the Sarasale bird sanctuary, which was declared a bird sanctuary in 1937, right? So all of them needed to be revisited, and the residents of the area has to have an advantage and knowledge that this is a important wetland for them. Otherwise, like most other parts of the world, the first thing that happens in development is to refill and reclaim wetlands, because that is how we had seen it. We didn't see the values of wetlands, so therefore we just went that way. But we didn't want that to happen in Jaffna after 30 years. We had seen the values of wetlands, we have seen the benefits of wetlands there, and we would like to be able to ensure that it is sustained for the future. And it is best done by those who are living there, rather than us from Colombo or from the south telling them what to do for themselves. If we are concerned about one's own environment, it is one's environment, the one that you live around, must be appreciated first. So that is the thing that we did in the last 2 years.
Yes, it's good to learn from the experiences of the past,
to
teach it before something bad happens in that area. Now, we were going to take a look at a video about a data center in Iceland. It is the world's first 100% carbon neutral data center. So let's take a look at that. So in relation to that, sir, what would you say is the most significant thing? Why is
well,
it so
to put it in a very sarcastic way, I would say, I call all of these environmental friendly technologies doing the best with the worst. The worst is that we have got locked up in fossil fuel, right? That is how we came to be what we are. So we should recognize that. What we are talking about carbon neutral is that we are not using fossil fuel and shifting to some fuels which are not providing extra carbon to the atmosphere. So when you say you are using hydrothermal or geothermal, hydropower or geothermal, basically there is no burning of carbon that therefore produces carbon dioxide. In the same way, one would say biofuels are carbon neutral, because biofuels are photosynthesized energy which you burn back and put back to the environment. So the carbon that was fixed by the plant is burnt and put back to the environment. So there is zero addition, there's a neutrality, right? So you see, this is the only way we can do anything today, but that should not be this end of line for environmental concerns, because the end of line concerns is that how can we replace totally fossil fuels and be using regenerated or energy that we have to be generating from, like geothermal or hydro or photosynthetic energy, biofuels and so on and so forth. You see, we have already made a mess of ourselves. The entire concerns of climate change primarily is a result of the fossil fuel burning that we have been doing for the last 50, 60 years or 100 years. Right? So now to reverse that system is not going to be easy. So these are very good initial steps. So that's why I said doing the best out of the worst system. The worst system is fossil fuel. See, to structure that place, how much of fossil fuel would have gone through? Right? Your operation, yes, you're carbon neutral. Operation. But to build that center, how much of fossil fuel was burnt? Nobody says that. Right? So operationally you are carbon neutral. That is what it meant by. So it's good. Right? When we say environment, the most environmental friendly center or the most environmental friendly operation, definitely yes, no question. So that is the best you can do with the worst situation. Right? Now, to lay down all those transmissions, to restructure and develop, we have to still be going to a point where it should not be done through energy generated from fossil fuel. Then only we become totally carbon neutral. That is a long, long way away. Right? It's a total change in the thinking that we have to do. It is like photovoltaics. Right? We say photovoltaics is fantastic, it's environmental friendly. But the construction of that photovoltaic panel, was it done from photovoltaics? You see, you have to ask that question, when you are looking at what we call life cycle analysis, which is the basis on which we do all these things, you have to ask, the initial energy given, was it from hydrothermal or geothermal or photosynthetic or biofuel or things like that, from the sun or whatever it is, right? So you see, we are still not there. But going there is important, because the recognition that we have made a mess of ourselves by using fossil energy, and therefore we have to shift. Look at Sri Lanka today, right? 85% of energy that we are generating today for our country is from fossil fuel. 20 years ago, 85% of the energy that was generated for the country's development was from hydro. So we have basically shifted from a carbon neutral system to a carbon emitting system. Of course, being a third world country, developing country, we can say we have had the luxury to do that, right? The world allows us, permits us, because we are still negative, carbon negative in terms of overall. We are not contributing to carbon dioxide, so we are still below. That does not still make us do bad things, no?
Yes, right? It doesn't make it right.
Yeah, it doesn't make it right. So I think what is important is, these are very good examples. We have to still think about doing better than this, and really targeting ourselves to try and find a mechanism, technology and so on and so forth, of not using fossil fuels at all. But unfortunately, that is not the case.
Yes.
The world is looking for fossil fuels. While climate change is thinning the ice cap in the north, we are looking for oil there also. So we are getting a blessing out of a problem, which I don't think is the right way through.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, that wraps up our interview for today. But thank you so much for coming in, Professor Kotagama. It was a very valuable discussion.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
See you guys on the other side of this after a small commercial break.